Well, good morning. Glad to be back speaking with you again to share my testimony. If you don't know me, I am Mike Gibbons. I'm the worship leader here. I've been the worship leader for quite some time, but have been a member of the church for all my life. I will time myself to promise to keep this brief. I was raised in the church. I started coming here before I was born. My mother was coming here with my parents. And then I was born here, I was baptized here, and grew up here all my life. And like we said this morning with the baptisms, when we baptize people at this church, we take on a responsibility as the congregation and as the lay people to help raise those people in the ways of God and to the knowledge and love of God. And so I am a product of this church, and you're helping in raising me. And I thank you, and I want you to know how much I truly do appreciate that. Through and through, I did things the Sicklerville way. If you've been around for a while, during our little boom in the late 90s and early 2000s, I was here as the church is, growing, and I got saved at Delanco Camp in 6th grade, all things that kind of check the Sicklerville Methodist Church boxes. And I'm a product of a long line of really, really amazing and influential pastors and people, Pastor Jerry and Pastor Alan and now Pastor Steve, the assistant pastors like Pastor Phil and I forgot to mention the first service, Truett a lot, and then some wonderful youth pastors. Specifically one that had a really big hold of my heart was Mike D. I don't know if you were around for him, but he was very influential. And so I thank all of them, and there's just so many people to thank and to think about when I think of where I am now and the journey that my Christian walk has been, and from time spent with the Pattersons at Kicks and all the people that helped with VBS when I was a kid, and Brian Saunders in Sunday school, and just so many different people have been influential. And I just want to know that while I may not personally say it all the time, I am so grateful and so appreciative of the influence that you've had and that they've had on my life. And it means a lot to me, and I don't say thank you enough. So I'm glad that this morning I have a chance to really say thank you to those who have helped kind of shape my walk. Briefly, I was here, I got saved in 6th grade, which meant that I was kind of just getting saved under the whim of it was the thing to do at camp, and it was cool, and it felt right, and I felt being called. But in 6th grade, you feel a lot of things, and you don't know for sure about anything. So I went through, and then about high school, I kind of strayed. 18 is a great, if you're going to act up, 18 is around the age to start doing it. So I kind of strayed, and was still coming, but I was kind of not engaged to the church, just kind of observing. And then it really took a recommitment. I went to undergrad for music, and then it kind of took a recommitment after that to kind of know that I wanted to follow Christ and know that this was the life. And when they say, you kind of have to take up your cross, I mean, it's real. It's not an easy choice to do, especially it gets harder and harder in this world today. So I recommitted to Christ. I went to seminary for a while. Many of you know I went to Palmer Seminary, and I learned a lot there. A lot that I like sharing with you. I learned a lot about the history of the church. I learned a lot about the founding fathers of the church. I learned about spirituality, and one of the main things that I think I took most out of it was the call for social justice as Christians that we have. We're called to be love in this world, right? Well, what other way to show love than to really impact social change and be a beacon of hope in social justice? So that was one of the things I really, really took out of it. I did eventually leave seminary when it just became kind of overwhelmingly clear to me of the role that politics play in the church. And it's just an unfortunate reality, but it's one that we have to recognize. And it's a shame because our message is one of love and one of grace and peace. And I think sometimes that gets so overwhelmed with politics. And I didn't want to be a political leader, really. I have no interest in that. So I left. It wasn't for me. And now I can be a Christian leader in the role that I am, in the worship leading role, and I can still lead. But this way I don't have to, do as many political things. I want to share with you, I've been working on a piece with the choir that I'm in, and unless you're a real choral buff, you won't know who this is, but if you are, Aaron, this piece is written by Craig Hella Johnson, and this is a movement from a larger work. This movement is called All of Us, and it's from a larger work that he created called Considering Matthew Shepard. And I just want to read a little bit of this text for you this morning. It says, "Most noble light, creation's face, how should we live but joined in you? Remain within your saving grace through all we say and do. And know we are the love that moves the sun and all the stars. O love that dwells, O love that burns in every human heart. Only in the love that lifts us up. This evergreen, this heart, this soul now moves us to remake our world. Reminds us how we are to be your people born to dream. How old this joy, how strong this call to sing your radiant care. With every voice in cloudless hope of our belonging here. Only in the love, only all of us. Heaven, wash me, all of us, only all of us. What could be the song? Where do we begin? Only in the love that lifts us up, all." Church, I want you to know that while it takes an amount of confidence to be up there and confidence to speak before you, I don't know how to even say this with humility, but I am full of humility. I know that I'm flawed. I know we all are. And I want you to know that we are working together to kind of discover God and to discover his love. And while I'm not a perfect worship leader or a perfect leader or speaker, I do dream of our role to remake the world, and I dream that of a universal church that can sit around a table together with God and Christ at the head of it. And although we may not agree on every single thing, we are all welcome at the table, with God being our focus and surrounded in love side by side. And while I know many of you disagree with things that I think or say or do, we are sitting at the table together, and I want you to know that for me, there is always a seat for you at my table. Whether we agree, whether we don't, there is always a seat for you at my table. And I invite you to sit with me and discuss, because we are all here for the same mission, and it's to remake the world in the image that he created it for, made of love. Our mission and our goal is out of love. So I would invite you to sit with me and talk with me as together we work of discovering the mysterious, wonderful God that we serve and that we love. Thank you.
I'm so honored to be here and to be able to share how God has worked in my life, but it's through this church. It's been a really, really tough couple of years, and I would not be standing in front of you thriving if it wasn't for this church. We go through stuff in life. We go through some really insane challenges, and I just want to encourage you to just take a deep breath and give it to him. And when I started doing that, and I started letting him work in my life and trust the people that he was putting in my life work in my life, awesome things happened. through the really tough days. And I always say, some of those really, really hard days, the most amazing seed is planted for the best day ever. There's some hard nights. There's some hard nights that I want the direct line to God saying, what are you thinking here? If you can just tell me what your game plan is, I'll be, more of an eager participant. But he knows me better than I know myself, and he knows what I need, and I just have to trust him. And I encourage you to do the same, and I hope today I inspire you, just to really give with abandonment, trust to him. This church, I am so grateful. I'm grateful for the day the Vilords, invited us to come to the church. And I couldn't get over the love that this church had. It's so unconditional. And it's almost like, is that for real? And it is. It really is. If you're new here today, or you just started coming, or you're looking for a church, I just met Mary in the bathroom. I hope you're here. Welcome. It is real. This church is just so filled with the love of God, and they're ready, to outpour it on you. It's wild that they're talking about the bathrooms today. I did not even know, but my main thing that I wanted to share with you today is a miracle that happened to me in the bathrooms here. So I am definitely for giving them the love they deserve, because magic happens in the bathroom. And then I met Mary today, who's a brand new today, in the bathroom. Like it's amazing that the outpouring of this church happens in the oddest places. So about 5 years ago, I started finding 3 pennies everywhere I went. It was absolutely obvious. God was like really giving me that neon sign that, he was trying to get my attention. And it was to the point where I was on a field trip even, and the change was 53 cents, and the person next to me is handing me 3 cents. I mean, there was a big neon sign there. And during one of Pastor Steve's sermons, which I absolutely love and have really touched my life, I had to blow my nose. It was one of those situations that, it was, that bad. And the person next to me didn't have a tissue. Ended up going to the bathroom. When I got there, there were 2 women softly crying in the bathroom. So immediately, what do? You pray with them, and you comfort them, and you be the church to them. And the Holy Spirit was not flowing through me. It was one of those, I think that was the first time that's ever happened. It was like, wait a second here. And then I heard a voice behind me, and it was the youth pastor's wife, and she was saying, can I help? And I was like, yeah, God, if you're going to send me anybody, send me Julie Ulrich. And we all prayed together, and it was such a beautiful, beautiful moment of just, appreciating and understanding that sometimes, you're not going to be the leader, but he'll give people, send people in your lives to help guide you through it. I came back, and my friend next to me was like, where were you? I'm like, don't worry, I got my own sermon. And at lunch that day, I explained to her, I figured out what the 3 pennies meant. And it meant that there was going to be a trial in my life, and not to worry, that God had this. And sure enough, next day, there was an emergency closing at my business. It was an unreal experience, very difficult. And God put people in my life, from, the people that were there to close it down and everything. And amazing things happened. I ended up with 3 locations with the business from that trial. It's pretty darn amazing how God works in our lives, and how this church has just done amazing things for me. That's not the only miracle that's happened with this church. It's not the only thing that's happened to me. The past 3 years, as I mentioned, have been really tough. And this church, Kathy Harkensheimer would sit and listen to me as I struggled. I wanted to keep my marital vows so badly. And unfortunately, my ex-husband was dealing with addictions, and I couldn't save him. Only God could. And I wanted to be the one to save him. And I wanted to, be in charge. And that's not how God works, And it was just very tough to understand what I thought God would want for my life versus what he needed and wanted for my life. So I actually heard him. I heard him tell me that I was made to thrive. And I think there's only 2 times in my life I've ever heard that voice, and it's pretty amazing. You're on your knees, and you hear it loud and clear in the direction. And then it was amazing. He was putting people in my life, and Kathy introduced me to Karen, and Karen was help guiding me. It just was so powerful, the support I had, and there were so many times I wanted to give up. It was just so hard. And again, he would put people in my life, and the ladies would say, don't give up. You've come so far. You've come so far. Don't give up now. This church family is so non-judgmental, excuse me. And they just never, ever judged me, never judged what I was going through. One Saturday, we had this Saturday services, and the boys and I were here. We needed it. We really, really needed that time with the Lord. And the boys were going through it too. They were misbehaving. And Pastor Steve came and sat behind us. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, the boys were just not, on their best behavior. But again, the church loves on us, and Pastor Steve loved on us. And afterwards, he told us he had sat behind us on purpose because he wanted us to know, that this church was praying for us. Like, it was just amazing, amazing. Even when I wasn't able to come to church after something happened for a little while, like, you guys were still loving on me. I got one of the Thanksgiving baskets, and it's so poignant to bring that up because it will be time soon. I hope we do the baskets here, and it was so special to receive that basket. I can't even tell you what it meant to me and the boys, and the cranberry sauce and the gift card for a turkey, and they don't even know half of the things, that were going on in our lives, but it was just such an impact, and this church gave us beds, food. I mean, you can't even imagine. We didn't have much, and this church just gave in abundance. I mean, literally, Kathy gave us her boys' old beds from her basement. But we always had hope because of this place. I'm now thriving. I'm a better person. I'm a better Christian. My children are thriving. And it's just so cool. And it's because of what this church has done. I want to challenge you guys. I recently heard the calling for the administrative assistant position, and as you know, I'm in fitness, and I thought, God, like, if you want to lead me, in a different direction, I will go. I will follow. And it was through that experience. Things aren't always pointing at a point Z. I wasn't meant, you guys got somebody awesome. I'm so excited, actually. But he brought me there to give me a message. And, it was, this church has served on me and loved on me so much, but I was not giving my time and talent to the church. And I wasn't, serving the church with the gifts that I've been given. And, it's really exciting. It's just so cool. Fear is a liar. And whether it's going to be once a year or you're coming in, maybe once a month and helping out in the cafeteria here, God has given us these talents for a reason, and you can't even imagine the impact that you can make in someone's life by something so small. So whatever gifts you can give, I challenge you. I've accepted the challenge, and I hope I serve the church well, but I want to throw that challenge back at you because I know, that each of you have something amazing and special that you can give to whatever capacity. God is so good, and if you don't leave with anything else, just please get out of his way. Put your trust in him, and he can just do amazing, amazing things in your lives. Thank you for everything you've done for me and the boys and the impact that you've had in our lives.